How you doing? I'm Darren with Kickin Barbecue. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today, we're talking prime rib. Now, last week we dropped a ham video and I said, hey, a lot of people are cooking hams for Christmas. Well, when you come to my house on Christmas, you're getting prime rib. What we have here, it's just under 6 pound. It's a bone-in rib roast. And it looks great. I mean, I got a pretty good deal on it, but it looks fantastic. I don't know that it's quite prime grade, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's not prime, so it's not prime rib. Well, yes, it is. The prime rib is the cut, not the grade, and there's a lot of misinformation about there that says if it's not prime, then it's not truly prime rib. That being said, if you can find a prime rib roast, I highly suggest you do it. Pay the extra money. It's just absolutely amazing. Now, what I did is I kind of trimmed up some of the loose ends, and then I actually dry brined it overnight in my refrigerator, and I use kosher salt to do that. And you want to be sure to use a coarser salt like kosher salt, because you can really control where your salt's going, and you can see it on there. If you were to use like a table salt or an iodized salt, it's going to be too salty. With this, it's just going to be absolutely perfect. And you want to salt it the night before, so that way that salt has time to dry into the meat. You can see it's pretty dry up here. It's looking really good. And I wanted to do a pretty basic prime rib, so anyone at home can do it. You don't got to order any special rubs. Most of the stuff you'll have at your house, or you can go to your local grocery store and get it. So like I said, we dry brined it the night before, and then I just trussed it up with some butcher's twine here just to help hold the shape and everything else. We're gonna cook it on this rack out on our Pipos Austin XL, and we're just doing that so we can rotate it for even cooking, make it easy for transport, stuff like that. We're gonna be running in that 275 to 300 degree range today, and I haven't quite decided if I'm gonna sear it off when it's done or not. We're gonna make a judgment call on that and see how the crust is looking. If I want a little more crust, maybe I'll sear it off. If it's looking good, we're just gonna roll with it. I don't really care. And now it is important to note that they did go ahead and almost debone this whole roast here. So they cut all the way down and then they stopped about right there. Now that just makes it easier for us, but that's also why I use this butcher twine. So all we're really gonna do here is I'm gonna bring you in and show you what I'm gonna do to finish this off. And I have a nice little herb slather here, and I'll have the full amounts in the description below and all that. But one thing you do want to get is some table grind black pepper. It's just a little coarser, 16 mesh, whatever you want to call it, but it's always nice to have some of that. It's a little bit coarser ground, so it's gonna help make a nice crust. So I'm gonna bring you guys in and show you exactly how we're gonna prep this rib roast. So to prep this rib roast, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and get a little pepper on here, and we're just gonna shake it on. Go as liberal as you want with it. I really like black pepper, so I might go a little bit coarser or a little bit heavier with it. But we're just gonna go ahead and cover all sides, even the bottom on the bones. It may be unnecessary, but I just like to do it. So we're gonna get a nice layer of pepper on there. It's smelling good already. And if you've never dry brined anything, I highly suggest it. It just really enhances the flavor. And you don't have to have, like I said, a specialty rub or anything like that. It's just a nice way to incorporate some flavor all the way throughout your meat. So we're gonna come up here, hit the top, flip it over and do the other side. And that's looking pretty good for our pepper. Maybe get a little bit more just on top here. All right, so we got our pepper on. We're just gonna kind of press it in. And then what I have here is just an herb slather. It's super easy. We have some rosemary, we have some chopped garlic, fresh garlic, and then we have some prepared mustard, and then a little bit of olive oil. Nothing fancy, but I do like a little bit of an herbaceous crust on my prime rib. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of mix that in, and then we're just gonna coat the entire thing and just get a nice slather on. And those little bits of garlic are gonna cook up, and they're just gonna be absolutely delicious. I've done this recipe before, and I really, really like the way that all the flavors kind of marry together. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure we get our sides. And that's looking really good. Go ahead and get our other side here. Oh yeah, that's gonna give us a really, really, really nice crust on this prime rib. Yes, I said prime rib, even though it's not quite prime grade, because it is prime rib. Okay, you can see we have our prime rib all slathered up. It's looking beautiful. Now, it is important to note that I have had this sitting out for about an hour and a half. You want it to come up to room temp. That's just gonna promote even cooking throughout. You don't want it ice cold, because then up here is gonna get overdone, and then the eye is still gonna be medium rare. What we're shooting for here is we want it wall to wall pink. Whether or not we get that, that's to be determined, but a lot of times you'll see the spinalis here kind of turns gray in the cooking process, and it's still good because there's a lot of intermuscular marbling and intermuscular fat in there, so you can overcook it and it's still good, but for presentation wise, it's nice to have that wall to wall pink. So I'm gonna go outside, get the pit fired up, and we'll meet you guys outside. I am using Bear Mountain oak pellets for this cook. I really like the way oak and beef go together, so that's what we're running on today's cook. So I will meet you guys outside, and we'll get this out on the cooker. All right, guys, you can see we have our prime rib on here. It's looking good. We got a smoke tube with some of those oak pellets rolling here. We're running at that 275 to 300 degree range. You can see we have our ThermoWorks smoke with our probes in, both reading pretty much about the same. So I have an alarm set for 120 up here, and I'll change this one down here, and then we're gonna check it at 120. But we're not gonna touch this thing until our temperature alarm goes off. I'll have a timer going, let you guys know how long exactly it takes, and I'll bring you back when we come out to check it again. But we're gonna leave this pit closed, let it get some smoke, and just let it do its thing. We may come out and rotate it, but I did put the back side towards the heat over here just to kind of protect the spinalis, and hopefully that helps with not overcooking it. So we're gonna let it roll and see how we do. So we'll see you guys when it's time to check on it. All right, guys, so it's been 2 hours and 45 minutes. You can see the prime rib is looking really good. We have a nice crust, we have a nice color. Our smoke is reading 119 degrees. I'm gonna check it with my instant read just to see where we're at. You can see we are at about 120 degrees there. I did kick up the heat a little bit just to kind of get this crust built a little bit, so we kicked it up to about 450 degrees for about 5-10 minutes just to build it. So I'm gonna call this good. I'm gonna get it inside, I'm gonna tent it with foil and let it rest for a half hour, and I'll bring you back when it's time to slice into it. All right, guys, and here it is. Here's our prime rib. It's rested a half hour. It looks good. It's got a nice crust, so not much else to say. We're just gonna carve into it and see how we did. That looks really good to me. You can see we have wall-to-wall pink. The spinalis is still nice and pink, a little gray up top here, but that's all right. So I'm gonna slice me off a little bit and give it a try. And you know I'm going straight for that spinalis. Man, that's good. The salt brine from last night really penetrated into the meat. It's got a good, nice salty flavor. The herb crust really does a wonderful job. The pepper on there, the smoke on there is awesome from those Bear Mountain oak pellets. This is a great prime rib. It's absolutely delicious. You can see it's nice and medium rare, very juicy. Give it another shot. It's absolutely delicious. So if you guys are looking for an easy Christmas meal that'll impress your family and friends, I highly suggest giving this a try. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.